Thanks very much, Louise. We've still got a little bit of a delay because of Lee Wood losing his wheel out on circuit, but we will get the racing underway very, very soon on the new track and our first opportunity to see where this overtaking is going to be. I'm looking forward to this, Tim.
Yeah, well, so far in the support races, we haven't seen much overtaking, but that doesn't mean we're not going to in touring cars. You know, these guys make their own rules, they make their own lines, and I'm sure they're going to find some ways of passing. And we've got some quick cars starting further back. We've heard from some of them on the grid, Andrew Jordan, Matt Jackson. Of course, Tom Boardman is right at the very back. He didn't complete a lap in qualifying, and we know he's been very quick round here. So I'm sure we're going to see lots of passing and lots of entertainment.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting first run on the 300 circuit, and I just hope they're not going to keep the race directors too busy afterwards. Jeff Allen, of course, is driving standards officer now. It's been introduced to the series, reintroduced to the series, and I chatted to him earlier, and he does feel as though he might be in for quite a busy day.
Well, that's telling in itself, isn't it? But I think the drivers are all really fired up. They've had a long gap, and they are fired up to go racing again. And I'm excited to see what happens as well. We've got a very equal split of 2 Chevys and 2 Hondas on the front of the grid. Yep. We have got this very narrow grid here. We saw in the run-up to the start of this race that we've had accidents here in the past, and it is one of the most narrow, or the narrowest, grids that we go to. So let's hope we get a clean start and then some great racing.
Good to see plenty of people around. The lineup on the grid, of course, as you say, with the Chevrolet of Jason Plato on pole position. Second consecutive pole of the season, and he is an 8 times winner here at Snetterton. He's got a remarkable record, but it's Gordon Shedden who lines up alongside him on that front row. Alex McDowell and Matt Neal will be together on row 2, and then James Nash of the Independents. He's leading the next group, if you like. He's 5th on the grid with Tom Chilton alongside in the Team Aon Ford. There's that Frank Rathel, Dave Newsham pairing, both new to the championship this year and on row 4 together, so that's exciting. Row 5, Paul O'Neill and Tom Onslow Cole in the second of the Fords. Andrew Jordan and Rob Collard together on row 6, and there's Matt Jackson. We spoke to him on the grid with Rob Austin, and as Matt said, rear-wheel drive Audi could get off the line well. Jeff Smith and Nick Foster on row 8. Row 9, he's Tony Gillam and Andy Neat together, so the third of the Team Aon Fords. Martin Byford and Daniel Welsh, the 2 guys making their debut, funnily enough, have ended up on the same row of the grid together. Row number 10. Row 11 sees John George and Liam Griffin, and at the back of the field we've got Tony Hughes, but we've also got Chris James and Tom Boardman. Neither of them were able to set a time in qualifying yesterday for various reasons, but Tom in particular, as you said, Tim, should be able to make his presence felt in the early stages. So away go the cars, and it's a long warm-up lap now. There should be plenty of time to get some heat into those tyre carcasses around a 3-mile track, which is what it is now.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite windy here, as we've said in Norwich, but it's actually quite warm, and the ambient temperature and track temperature are well up, so there'll be no problem getting these tyres up to temperature for the start.
James Nash on board the 888 Vauxhall, the car I was lucky enough to drive yesterday to get a little bit of an idea of where this circuit goes, and that was a good effort from him in qualifying yesterday. Actually, when I told him, he didn't know, and I told him that Andrew Jordan was 11th and Matt Jackson was 13th, he really lit up at that point, because he was a bit disappointed not to be on the front row, usual racing driver, but to hear 2 of his big rivals were so far down, that really gave him a boost.
Yeah, it was a very good performance. We were watching it in qualifying, launching his splits, and he was driving very quick. He was on for several quick laps, so before he delivered that actual lap, and it was a good time. I mean, this man, actually, Matt Jackson, very disappointed. Really thought they were going to come back, start the second half of the season strong, but hasn't managed to do it so far in qualifying. But we know what a great racer Matt is. He's got a real BTCC brain now, and he knows how to get the best out of it over the 3 races. But certainly they've gone back on some of their setups to previously used setups, and Matt will be hoping to charge forward, keep his championship chase going.
Yeah, well, Matt Neal starting from 4th place on the grid, the championship leader at the moment. So there he is. We're riding on board with him. Let's have a quick word. Matt, this is Ben in the commentary box. Have you been looking at the support races, working out where the best overtaking places might be on this new circuit?
A little bit, Ben. We just got to see how it all shakes up on the opening lap. It's normally fairly close and fairly physical around here in the BTC race, so we just got to concentrate on staying out of trouble for the first lap or so.
And have you got any concerns about the front tyres lasting the distance?
Yes, mate. Track temperature and ambience gone up from yesterday, and there's a lot of scrabbly corners we've got to try and put the power down around here, so it could be an issue for us in the second half.
Okay, have a good one. So Matt Neal just keeping that tyre temperature up, and that is something we've got to look at. I was talking to one of the BMW teams, to the West Surrey Racing Team, WSR, earlier, and they certainly feel the second half of the race should see them move forward, but it's a question of staying in the hunt in the early part, in the first few laps.
Yeah, I mean, the couple of the teams, or several of the teams, did simulated race runs in free practice, and there wasn't too much deterioration, so they've got concerns, but I don't think they're huge concerns.
Okay.
And I mean, yes, the BMW will be fractionally faster at the end of the race, but where that tipping point will come and whether it'll be enough to bring the BMWs really in contention, I don't think so. It's not super hot here, but it's a first time on this circuit. The track itself is constantly evolving. We've seen quite different lap times, session on session, day on day, as the track evolves. So quite what they're going to find today in the race, you know, it's first time for everyone.
Yeah, totally is, and it's going to be exciting to see BTCC cars back in action. 26 cars on this grid today, and that's the biggest grid since the end of 2007. There's Paul O'Neill inside the top 10 for this one. We've got two new drivers, of course, two drivers making their debut in Martin Byford and Dan Welsh, and great to see Proton joining the grid this weekend as well. We've got 10 manufacturers represented, 13 different models of car, and it's, as I say, good to see Proton back. They raced in the BTCC in the early 2000s. The late, much missed David Leslie raced with Proton, as did Phil Bennett and Sean Watson-Smith. Impressive in 2004, but Proton been out of it for a long time, and although it's a privateer effort with Dan Welsh, it's nice to see the car on the grid.
Yeah, the car is well presented, has hit the ground running. It hadn't run at all before this weekend, so I think a very admirable display by the team so far, and great to have them in the championship.
So cars lining up then. The longest version of Snetterton that we've ever seen before. It's longer even than the old version, where the track used to run parallel to the A11, the old Norwich Straight, where cars on the road were running alongside cars on the racetrack. It's longer even than that layout of the circuit, and it's the first time that we're going to see a round of the British touring cars take to it and see what they can do. Last few cars of this big grid still moving into place. Round 16 of the British touring cars set to go in just about perfect conditions. As you can see, track temperature around 24 degrees, so good track temperature, not cooking hot, but certainly plenty warm enough to get those tyres working. Last couple of cars, Tom Boardman I can see just moving into place at the back of the field. He's got his work cut out after that engine problem in qualifying yesterday. Green flag from the back, away goes the cap, and we're set to go racing here. It's Plato versus Shedden, remember, on the front row of the grid. Chevy versus Honda. Lights out, away we go, and Jason Plato is very quick off the line, and McDowell is squeezing up into second, bit of bumping and boring in the middle of the pack there, but now the Honda's coming back, but it's Plato leading, Matt Neal trying to go around as well, and McDowell up to second very briefly, but he might fail. Oh, and round goes Matt Neal! Matt Neal spins right in front of the pack. Shetton's still up there, suddenly someone else up there on the outside, and it's all gone wrong for the championship leader.
Well, miraculously, nobody's hit him, but there's more cars off at the second corner on the exit of Montreal. It's battling it out. Matt Neal struggling to get that car restarted. Bradley Ellis in the doctor's car in danger of passing him. Oh, side by side, Chilton and Nash.
Chilton and James Nash. Nash moves back to the inside. Frank Rathell's behind. Plato leads. Frank Rathell in the orange Toyota right round the edge there on Agostini, the hairpin, and under pressure from Paul O'Neill behind. Plato leads. McDowell is in second place. Shedden, then Chilton, Nash, Rathell, and then Paul O'Neill having a good first lap here.
Well, an ideal situation for Plato. Perhaps Matt Neal was trying to wrest that lead away from him immediately so he didn't get away. We'll have to see a rerun of it, but a perfect scenario for Plato leading with his teammate behind, and Neal spun down to last.
Yeah, Frank Rathell just, we've got a car off big. What's happened? They've hit the barrier on the outside, down the exit of the Williams onto the Bentley straight. It's It's that rector-cell barrier that's been put there in to stop them running wide, and somebody's taken it out in the very first lap.
Well, it was right on the... Oh, back down. Did he have a tap, or was that just a little bit of an oversteer through the second part of the S's there?
Wow, this is pretty exciting stuff so far, but Plato's where he wanted to be, which was up front, because then he felt that he could get away from the turbo cars. McDowell, as you say, his teammate in second, so that's great from his point of view, and the rest of them following through with Gordon Shedden in third, then Chilton in fourth. Oh, and look in the background, O'Neill really beginning to put Frank Rathel under pressure here as Plato comes across the line, and it's Chevy 1-2 at the moment.
Chevy 1-2, some of the big moves on this first lap. Matt Jackson has moved up, he's got up to 8th place. We're going to see a replay now. This is coming onto the Bentley. Oh, this is round the first one. There was contact between Neil and Plato. Plato was pushing Neil, and well, Neil won't be happy about that for sure, but miraculously no one else hit him.
No, this is the view from on board, Tim. Take a look at this. Oh, that was high-speed stuff, and he only just kept it off the barrier.
Very close. I think he tried to keep the car straight by keeping the throttle on, but wasn't going to happen. Is this the incident coming onto the Bentley straight? Oh, Onslow Cole.
Yeah.
Slightly unsighted, a little bit of understeer, and just sideswiped the barrier.
Yeah, as you say, unsighted, difficult when you've got a big gaggle of cars like that. Rathel having a go at getting past Nash, and that's really impressive. 5th place, Nash runs wide, he might lose another place to Paul O'Neill. Frank Rathel, Nash trying to get back down the inside, inevitable contact, but they do escape with it, and Nash has lost the place. So Frank Rathel, reigning Ginetta champion, and he is really enjoying the boosted performance from the NGTC car. You saw Martin Byford go through in the goal from his first ever race. He's down in 17th place at the moment, and Dan Welch is in 15th place in the Proton. It's Plato leading, McDowell, Shedden, little gap back to Chilton, and now it's Rathel ahead of Nash. He got past, but now he's being repassed. No, he hasn't, still side by side. Paul O'Neill has to give it up.
Well, so far so good for the circuit. They're thumbs up. We're seeing some great racing, as only the touring cars know how to provide, with plenty of passing and repassing going on.
A little bit of damage to the front end of that Vauxhall of Nash, looking back from Nash to O'Neill behind, and then Matt Jackson, as you said, had a good first lap. Look at how close O'Neill gets through on the entrance to Murray's. Out of Murray's they come, and it's so important to get a good exit here, and the turbo cars will have the edge here, and that's what Matt Jackson will hope for.
Yeah, I think in fairness, Paul O'Neill's probably too close on the way through the corner to maintain the normal run through, but on the straight they're very, very equal. Jackson didn't really close up on O'Neill. O'Neill with a bit of a slide there, he's going to have to hold that. He's gone off.
Oh, well, he's got it back on again. What a save on the grass, just as well the grass is pretty much dry today. And behind him you've got Tom Onslow Cole, Dave Newsham having a good old race in that yellow and black set, and Tom Boardman is next up in the background in the black car. He's come up to 11th. He's just gone past Rob Austin in the Audi, and Tom has come all the way from the back.
Well, we said to watch out for him, and Tom loves it when the pressure's off and he can just race for the sake of racing, and he's always given us some great charges from the back.
Yeah, so now he's caught up to the back of Tom Onslow Cole. Behind him we can see Rob Austin still fighting away in the Audi. And that is him. He spun. Now there was a car right with him. I'm not sure if it was Nick Foster or who it was, but they were certainly a big old dice. Jeff Smith was around there as well, but Austin recovers. Let's see if we can look. He was on the outside, in fact. Jeff Smith came down the inside.
I think it was Nick Foster actually outbraked himself and just tapped the back.
So he was already spinning as Jeff Smith came down, because Nick Foster just gave him that little nudge. You're going to see that, I think, on this layout of circuit. Now look at Frank Rathel in that orange and black Toyota. He is now putting Tom Chilton under pressure. That is the new look touring car, the NGTC car, and this is by far the best performance we've seen. He's a young, feisty but level-headed driver, is Frank Rathel. An exciting new talent for the future, and the car working particularly well here at Snetterton.
Yeah, it's working really well. It looks to be handling much better than previously, so the team have certainly improved the car over the break period. We thought they would be the ones that were most likely of the new teams to make progress, and they've got their heads down first half of the year, gradually making progress, and look at them here, they're right on the pace.
Yeah, Tom Chilton's having to defend, isn't he, in the Team A on Ford up towards Rich's corner, where we saw O'Neill have that huge slide last time around, and that's one of the corners, of course, that is unchanged. Now into Montreal, the hairpin which is pretty tight, and we're not seeing many opportunities to dive down the inside into that one. Running a little wide out of the edge, you can do that into the left-hander at Palmer's, and Rathel's team, the Dynajet team, really looking anxious but loving it too, because he's right up there with some of the established stars of British touring cars.
Well, Alan Gow will be delighted, because this will be encouragement to all of the potential new runners to come into the championship with the NGTC cars, and this is just what he wanted to see.
Yeah, and Chilton really having to work quite hard. The NGTC car runs a slightly bigger tyre size than the other existing cars, so that maybe just gives them a fraction more grip in a couple of the key areas, but it's the whole package that is really working here.
Yeah, everything's got to work well to deliver this sort of pace, and certainly the tyre size helps, because there are a lot of corners.
Now, Byford and Welsh, they were side by side, but further back, Andrew Jordan coming back, trying to recover after something happened earlier on. Neat also got past Liam Griffin. Oh, and off Tony Gillam with a broken rear left suspension, so he's out of it. Jordan, by the way, currently running 17th, no, he'll be 16th now that he's got past Liam Griffin, but way down the pack.
Yeah, and one thing we haven't seen is anything about Matt Neal. He's not featuring on the timesheet, so we can only assume that he never got the car restarted, or certainly hasn't got the car going into any meaningful position. So we'll see if he's still out there at all. But no points. Oh, he is still running, but he's certainly lower than 20th place. 23rd, so no points at all.
Yeah, that's not good news for Matt Neal, and the championship leader's going to see that gap reduced massively. Remember, Matt Jackson is currently second in the points, Gordon Shedden third. Shedden's right up there looking at a podium finish, but Jackson's currently in 7th place, tucked in behind James Nash at the moment as we watch Frank Rathel. Still looking to find a way past the Ford Focus up ahead. These two fighting for 4th position. There's Jackson, you can just see there, currently second in the championship, but a chance to close that gap on Matt Neal. But Gordon Shedden right well, and Boardman going slowly after all the hard work that he'd done in the early part of the race. Something's gone wrong again for him.
Well, poor old Tommy just doesn't have any luck. Any luck he has is all bad, unfortunately, and he's pulling off there. But oh, look, Rathel really attacking now attacking Chilton for 4th.
Yeah, down the outside it's Agostini, but Chilton always going to defend that on the inside. Nash trying to keep in touch with him behind in the silver and black Vauxhall. Then Matt Jackson, followed by Paul O'Neill. Tom Onslow-Cole still in 10th place. Jeff Smith is in 11th. Ahead of Nick Foster, Martin Byford and Dan Welsh. Andrew Jordan 15th, ahead of Andy Neat, Liam Griffin, and indeed John George down in 18th place. But this is one of the closest races in the field, no doubt about it, between Chilton and Rathel, between an established race winner in British touring cars and up against the new boy in the new car, Frank Rathel, the 25-year-old from Preston in Lancashire, with that family-run team, but a very, very professionally run team it is, and putting this Team Aon Ford under all sorts of pressure as they come out of Brundle and Nelson, the renamed S's here at Snetterton.
Yeah, forgive me if I still call it the S's. 30 years of racing here, and I'm still trying to get my head around the new names, but never mind that. Let's get back to the action, and that Toyota Events is really looking to handle those bumps around the entry to the fast quorum entry very well, and even through the slow corners over the curbs, the car looks good.
Yeah, it looks very stable, and still looks as though he might have a chance of putting a move on Chilton here if he can just determine the right place. What's happening with the BMWs? I'm not seeing any of them. I don't know what happened to Collard.
Well, Collard came into the pits quite early on. Okay. We don't know what the problem was. And Nick Foster's in 12th.
Right, yeah, that is the highest BMW. Oh, Chilton's gone off and he's lost the place to Rathel. Rathel is up to 4th. Well, how about that? And there's the reaction of the Dynajet team. Frank Rathel up into 4th place. A fantastic performance by the reigning Ginetta champion, the Ginetta G50 Cup champion, and a BRDC rising star. Well, he certainly is a rising star, Tim. He's rising up the ranks of these British touring car contenders.
He's going to try and make a name for himself in the second half of the season, and full credit to him. This is a replay. Watch in the background. Oh. Well, Chilton's already sideways midway through the corner and just manages to save it. Basically a repeat, and there's the team's reaction of the Dynajet team. They're delighted. This is the best performance they've had, and they've worked hard. They've paid their dues. They've worked hard the first half of the season. They haven't complained. They've just got on with the job, and now they're reaping the rewards.
Team run by his dad, Frank Senior, and he had a big smile on his face there as Rathel went through. So great stuff from them. Plato continues to lead this race from his teammate Alex McDowell. 1.6 seconds the gap. Snetterton in third. Now it's Rathel in fourth. Chilton back to fifth place. Nash in sixth and putting Chilton under pressure. Jackson, O'Neill and Newsham then following through, with Onslow Cole with that damaged front end on the Ford. Jeff Smith, Martin Byford there in the VW Golf making his debut in British Touring Cars. And then there's the Proton. You can see there's Dan Welsh. Great to have that car in the series, and he's up ahead of quite a few cars with this big 26 car field. I think that's an impressive debut for the team.
It's a hugely impressive debut. I mean, this car hadn't turned a wheel, and he's in front of Andy Neate, he's in front of Liam Griffin, Rob Austin, who have all been running all year in proven machinery. So it's a really good effort.
Yeah, fantastic stuff by the team and by Dan himself. We've seen him race in a lot of the support championships to touring cars in the past, but it's nice to see him now in the British touring car field itself. So Jackson through Rich's corner, hopping over the curb, still in seventh place. He's got Paul O'Neill not far behind him, and then Dave Newsham. Newsham a bit of a loser at the early lap because he qualified so well, but he sort of got pushed out of the way a little bit, I think, on that opening lap. Managed to survive, and he's still in the top 10. You're looking back from Matt Jackson here at Paul O'Neill as we come into the left-hander. Just talk us around some of these corners here, Tim.
Well, we're coming down now towards Agostini, the second of the new hairpins, effectively. Quite easy to defend here. You pull to the inside, slight lock up there, nothing to worry about. But then that does affect your exit. You run wide there. Now you're running down to Hamilton, the kink that you want to take flat, but you have to just settle the car on the brakes. Then chopping across the inside, running wide, and then down into Oggies, a deceptive corner where you have to turn in earlier than think and not run wide too early. And then you've got this right-hander onto the Bentley straight called Williams, through there, over the inside car, let the car run it well, not too wide. That's where the curve was breaking up and why they put that barrier in there. But a critical corner to get a good run onto the Bentley straight.
Yeah, and then we're back onto more familiar territory as we come down beneath the bridge and into the left-hander of what is now called Brundle, but the layout of the S's here has not changed. And Jackson and O'Neill very evenly matched between the two cars. The turbocharged Ford Focus, the older style Focus, run by the Airways team, and there the Chevrolet, the older Cruise. This was the car that Plato won the championship with last year, and Paul O'Neill moving one way then the other to try and unsettle Jackson. But here it's very difficult to overtake. Is he going to have a look down the inside into Murray's? Not quite, no. And that corner used to be Russell, used to be a good overtaking spot. Much more difficult now.
No, it's very difficult. You could see from that on board just how hard it was to turn to the right for Paul O'Neill and to slow the car down at the same time. So the driver is basically completely got his hands full with braking and turning and trying to make a pass at that point as well. It's very, very difficult.
Multitasking going too far, isn't it, to do that down there at Murray's. But Jackson, O'Neill, Newsham is getting a bit closer, isn't he? So Newsham could now become a factor in this little battle.
Well, he could actually take the heat off Jackson by getting on the back of Paul O'Neill, and then Paul will have to worry about defending rather than attacking.
Yeah, that's right. So last lap comparison, Newsham, yeah, definitely that bit quicker, 0.6 of a second quicker than O'Neill. So Newsham is definitely reeling them in nicely. Up front, Plato still leads this race. We're on lap 8 out of 12. His gap up to just under 2 seconds over teammate Alex McDowell, and it's looking like a Chevy 1-2 with Honda third. And interestingly, the boost on the turbo cars, of course, has been slightly reduced again for this weekend. And right now, you have to say the Chevys have been very fast. They've been able to stay in front, which is what they hope for. O'Neill in another normally aspirated Chevy here, desperately trying to get past the turbo car with Matt Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, what we're seeing in race conditions is no great obvious disparity on the straights, at least. So the racing is much more equal between the normally aspirated and the turbo cars because they're able to compete on level terms around the circuit. We're not seeing turbo charged cars just drive past or drive away from the normally aspirated cars.
That's right, and certainly that is the case here. Somebody ahead of them kicking up the dust big time as they came out of that 1-inch bomb hole now and through towards Coram. Just ahead of them is Nash, so I think Nash is still there. We're in 6th place. He's still hounding Tom Chilton, but O'Neill here, who was outplaying in a Morris Minor last weekend, having all sorts of fun and games in a very different type of car to the Chevy Cruze that he's driving. We just saw Nash cross the line. There are the leaders, Plato, McDowell and Shedden. Shedden hasn't really been able to do much about McDowell. There is Frank Rathel, amazing 4th place for him at the moment. Chilton 5th, Nash in 6th, and then there's Tussle we've been viewing for a few laps now. Jackson, O'Neill and Newsham.
Well, how much would Rathel love it if something befell Plato, McDowell or Shedden, he could get his first podium, but even if he doesn't get it now, it's obviously not going to be far away.
Oh, a bit of more dust being kicked up in that battle. I don't know whether O'Neill tried something into Montreal there or not, but certainly there was a bit of dust, maybe just cutting the apex a bit tighter, looking for a decent exit out of the corner, trying to keep the car balanced. Very easy here, Tim, to make a mistake. A couple of these corners you could easily run out of road on the exit.
Yeah, the corners are designed so that they tighten up a little bit. Oh, tight tap there as the Chevy slides in, but look, he loses on the exit by not getting the momentum on the exit. But the corners are designed to encourage overtaking, but also to form a technical challenge, so they tighten up a lot on the exit.
Yeah, that's right. So they've got to keep looking after those front tyres, but they seem to be doing so. Nobody seems to be losing pace particularly quickly. It's still Plato the fastest. He's pulling away a bit more up front. More dust kicked up by James Nash as he ran wide coming onto Bentley Straight. McDowell there in 2nd place. Gordon Shedden, important 3rd place this for Shedden, because with Matt Neal, his teammate, looking as though he's not going to score any points. He's got into the top 20 now, Matt Neal, but not into the top 15, which is where he needs to be. So Shedden with a real chance now to close that gap to his teammate in the championship. Same for Matt Jackson. It's going to close everybody up, and of course Plato is also going to be able to close up some of that bigger gap. Had a miserable time at Croft, did Plato, but this is putting himself back on the championship chase if he can continue this performance.
Yes, and to give you an idea of the tyre degradation we talked about, we're looking at about a second a lap across the board from the fastest laps to the current position, so that's actually not too much. So the tyre wear has not been drastic. The Dunlop tyres have held up really well, and that it's not going to sway the advantage towards, say, a BMW during the course of the afternoon.
No, well, it's all the lessons we have to learn with the new circuit to decide how it does work out. Newsham's dropped back off that battle. He's still there, but it's Jackson O'Neill alone now, and Rob Austin is trying to line up to get past the Ford of Andy Neat as they come up the centre straight here towards Riches. The Audi having a little look up the inside. It was spun round earlier on today in this race, remember, and he's trying to recover some of that lost ground. Andy Neat just defending. We've got Liam Griffin behind, back of the Audi, snaking under braking.
Yeah, that was absolute limit of braking, but it also shows us that Rob's got quite a lot of rear brakes on that car on. He probably needs to wind the balance just fractionally more towards the front as the tyres have deteriorated. And remember, on that car it's the rear tyres that deteriorate more. He's losing some braking efficiency and needs to just change the balance slightly.
So Neat will go a bit defensive down towards the second hairpin here, Agostini. Now Austin will hope that his rear-wheel drive can help. Oh, and Jackson and O'Neill absolutely together. I think briefly O'Neill might have just been ahead, but not for long, because Jackson's got the place back again. Rathel comes through in 4th. Then it's Tom Chilton in 5th place. James Nash in 6th. One way, then the other goes Jackson, with Paul O'Neill shadowing his every move. In the background it's still Newsham, and O'Neill looks very, very fired up to try and get past in the remaining couple of laps.
Well, one thing you know is that Paul O'Neill will fight till the very last corner, the last lap, for whatever position it is, and Matt Jackson knows that. And well, you can see the Chevy there of Paul O'Neill very quick on the entry to the Bommel and on the entry to Coram, but then they have to slow the car down on the brakes, try and line it up on the right-hand side to get a good exit.
Oh, look at that.
And it's almost as though Paul O'Neill mistimes it, because he gets the run onto the straight too early and runs into the back of Jackson and then loses some momentum.
Yeah, and maybe Jackson just has that edge pulling away from the slower corner, so then he's got to try and catch him up again as we go into the quick one here. And Riches just timed into the first curve, a little bit of a slide there. That again shows you how hard these guys are trying and how on the limit they always are. Just that tiny bit of movement mid-corner there, showing that very well.
Well, you always try and set a front-wheel car up so that you can just hang on to it in the very fastest corner. You want as little or as much oversteer as you can handle in the fastest corner to enable it to turn sharper in the tighter corners. So the Riches is where you're going to see them really on the limit.
In the background, by the way, I think Onslow Cole's got past Newsham. Yeah, he has. Tom Onslow Cole has got past Dave Newsham with Jeff Smith behind. So that's dropped Newsham down to 10th, Onslow Cole up to 9th. but he'll be wanting more than that, despite the damage. I wonder if it's actually damaged the suspension. And here comes O'Neill looking around the outside, never going to make it there, surely, at Oggies. Now he's going to try and cut back to the inside of the way into Williams, but it's not a real break there, is it?
No, it's just a feather on the throttle and back on it, so it's not a passing place, it's a setting up place for the straight. He's right tucked under the back bumper now.
This is great now. Can he look at him make the move? Matt Jackson moves one way, moves the other. If he's going to do it, he's going to have to go for the lunge into the left-hander, or perhaps come round the outside, but he just can't quite get the car in position to do it. Jackson's driving beautifully here, because it's so easy when you're under this much pressure to make a tiny error under braking. No mistakes so far from Jackson.
Yeah, look how much quicker though the Chevy is through the bomb hole and on the way in here to Gorham. It just can't find a place to really use that momentum. I think he needs to back off a little bit from Jackson and get a perfect run through this corner here, and then try and stay as close to him up this straight and slingshot through that first right-hander Riches up the inside into the first hairpin.
Yeah, but that's where the Jackson car just opens up a length or two, doesn't it? And that's where it makes it so hard for O'Neill. Into Riches they come, as you say, where he's got to be that little bit closer than this to have a go into the next hairpin. Just not there.
No, you're right, you just can't get that initial drive off the final corner up the start-finish line straight.
Then he closes up lovely through there, great balance through the hairpin. Now up towards the left-hand. Again, it's not really a brake, it's just a sort of dab or a lift to get the car turned in here. Long corner, feels longer than it looks when you're watching from the sidelines here. And then down towards, that was Onslow Cole just clipping the apex a bit more tightly there.
Well, not clipping, cutting I think is probably more accurate.
That's a much better word. Bit of cutting there as well.
Yeah.
I think Jonathan Palmer's going to be upset and sending them the bill for reseeding some of the grass on those areas. Up through the left-hander at Hamilton then. This is where O'Neill managed to get alongside last time around, but he's not able to do it this time here. He's still looking for that decent bit of momentum building here, which is so crucial through Williams. Can he keep that momentum up here now? Look how much he's cutting that one. This is beautiful, but can he get enough speed now? He's in the slipstream.
He's in the slipstream, but it's not giving a huge advantage. It would have to be a massive lunge, and I just don't think he's going to be close enough to try.
And it's risky in the first race of the day. You've got to keep the car in one piece. We are on the final lap, and Jason Plato is heading towards his victory for the day. Another victory here at Snetterton for Jason Plato. He's heading for his 5th win of the season, and indeed his 9th win ever at Snetterton. A repeat of last year's victory. Across the line goes Plato. McDowell finishes a very solid 2nd for Chevrolet. What a result for the Silverline team. 1 and 2. Shedden finishes in 3rd. 4th place, a best ever result for Frank Rathel and for the NGTC car. Chilton finishes in 5th, and Nash got Chilton on the last lap. Nash got 5th. Where's Chilton? Where has Chilton gone? Because Nash is 5th, Jackson 6th, O'Neill 7th, and Chilton has not made it round, Tim.
No, I don't know what's happened. We didn't see anything on tape. He hasn't come round at all, but...
I know, he's crossed the line now in 9th, so whatever happened...
Okay.
He lost a lot of places there. So Matt Neal is going to be finishing, 19th? So no points at all for Matt.
No points for Matt, but yeah, Chilton's some sort of 10 seconds slower than he should have been on that last lap. So either went off or hit a technical problem.
So
coming across the line.
Yeah, 18th in the end, in fact, because somebody else dropped back. But, well, it's a key race in the championship, no doubt about it, because the championship leader spun around at the first corner, kept it off the barrier, but he has come home without scoring any points at all, and Plato has come through to win. Let's see if we...
And was just drafting.
Well, he's actually talking to his team at the moment.
Yeah, I couldn't see, in fact, on the back of Matt Neal's car whether there was any damage. It didn't look like it, although his hand gestures there is that one car hit the other. You presume he's talking about Plato, but couldn't see anything, but we'll have to ask him.
Matt, it's Ben in the commentary box. Matt, talk us through what happened on that first lap. We'll try again. Matt, I don't know if you can hear me. This is Ben in the comm box, but can you tell us what happened on that first lap? We seem to be struggling with sound on that one. That's a shame. Maybe the signal not getting through clearly. We'll no doubt get him out of the car. He was talking to his mechanic a moment ago, just explaining it to him. But there is the race winner, Tim, Jason Plato. What an important time in the championship to earn that victory, and of course pole position for race 2 as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we knew this circuit would suit that car, and you could see the same thing when we were having the coverage of Paul O'Neill's Chevrolet, that just how good it is in the corners. It's really, Jason's argument has only been about engine power, and there seemed to be good parity between the cars on the straights there. But clearly the Chevrolet is a very good chassis, and Jason Plato off the front row off pole is going to be a hard man to beat.
Yeah, definitely. He drove that beautifully, and no doubt very happy to see his teammate Alex McDowell finishing in second, and Shedden unable to really challenge McDowell in that race. He worked hard at it. He stayed within about a second of him throughout. But there, the best result so far for the youngster Frank Rathel in his first season of British touring cars, and he has come home in 4th place. Let's take a look at that result then. It's Plato taking the race victory by 2.2 seconds over teammate McDowell, and Honda got their first car home 3rd, but their other car, Matt Neal, well out of the points. Frank Rathel starring in the Dynojet Toyota in 4th. James Nash was 5th ahead of Matt Jackson in 6th, who fended off Paul O'Neill to the flag. Onslow Cole and Chilton, the 2 Team Aon cars, ended up 8th and 9th after problems for Chilton. Newsham finished in 10th place. 11th for Jeff Smith, Andrew Jordan in 12th, then Nick Foster, Martin Byford and Rob Austin. Andy Neate was 16th, Liam Griffin 17th, but Matt Neal all the way down in 18th after that spin at the first corner. John George and Chris James completed the top 20, with Hughes, Dan Welsh, who did finish but dropped back a little bit in the closing stages of that race. Poor old Rob Collard had problems, Tom Bourbon likewise, and Tony Gillam and Lee Wood barely made it around the track at all. Now, this is what it means in terms of the championship. It is Matt Neal still on top, but it's a close gap now. Just 4 points to Matt Jackson, and also closing in both Gordon Shedden and to a certain extent Jason Plato. He's still got some work to do, but a few more races like that, and Jason Plato is going to become a factor once again in this title race.
It was Jason Plato from Alex McDowell in the first touring car race of the day here at Snetterton. And once again, the Silverline Chevrolets are the cars to beat as we head towards round 17 of the British Touring Car Championship. And we're back with Tim Harvey and Ben Edwards.
The cars making their way round on the final formation lap then, and let's take a look at how they do line up. Jason Plato with maximum ballast now on board, the 45 kilos on board his car, 36 kilos on board Alex McDowell's car. That should slow them down a touch. We'll see. Shedden and Rathel on the second row of the grid together. James Nash and Matt Jackson together on row number 3. Then Paul O'Neill, who spent so much of the last race trying to get past Jackson. Tom Onslow Cole alongside. Then Chilton, who had an electrical problem at the end of the previous race. Dave Newsham is also on the 5th row. Jeff Smith and Andrew Jordan are together on row 6. Row 7 sees Nick Foster in the BMW, Martin Byford in the VW Golf, then Rob Austin in his Audi, Andy Neate in the Ford, Liam Griffin in another Ford, the Airwaves car, and Matt Neal all the way down on the 9th row. Then it's John George and Chris James, Tony Hughes and Dan Welsh in the Proton, Rob Collard towards the back of the field as well with Tony Gillam, so Rob's got plenty to do from there, and Lee Wood brings up the rear of the grid in his Honda Integra. So that's the lineup of cars. Tim, we did see that incident at the start of the first race today between Jason Plato and Matt Neal. Matt got into a big slide. There has been a bit of a decision on that, hasn't there?
Yeah, Clerk of the Course Bob Kettleborough has given Jason Plato penalty points on his licence and a fine, but no adjustment to the race result, which is most crucial obviously in Jason's case. Doesn't help Matt Neal, of course, because he got no points at all, but you know, that's that race out of the way. Let's concentrate on this one. A fascinating prospect now, both the Chevrolets racing with ballast. Remember, they had none at all in the first race, so Plato gaining 45 kilos and McDowell 36, but crucially Gordon Shedden, who was behind them of course, is still running exactly the same way, so it'd be very interesting to see how much more competitive he is in this ongoing comparison of best turbo and best normally aspirated car. But of course the man we will have to watch is Matt Neal coming from the back with no ballast at all.
Yeah, definitely one to
well, not from the back, he's actually on row 9.
Yeah, so at least it was worth him staying out there in that previous race, because as you say, he's not quite at the back, he's about 2/3 of the way down, but with 26 cars. It's a much bigger grid nowadays, so if you do have a non-finish, it means you've got a lot more cars to fight your way past. So part of the consequence of the greater success that British touring cars is enjoying is that if you have a bad race, you've got even more to do afterwards. Matt Jackson there, who we saw battling away with Paul O'Neill. Let's see if we can get a very quick word with Matt. Matt, this is Ben, coming up towards the end of the warm-up lap. You had a great fight with Paul O'Neill. What can you do in this one?
Well, we'll have to wait and see, Ben. It's, you know, we struggled a bit yesterday with the car. We're still making changes to try and get a car that's that really can challenge the likes of the Chevrolets, although I don't think we'll get there this weekend to match the pace of Jason.
Okay, well, have a good race. You can see how hard he's working.
Cheers, Ben. Thank you very much.
Working away on that steering wheel, Tim.
Yeah, but he's another one that loses ballast, because obviously he was second in the championship and carrying 36 kilos. He now is released of ballast weight, so we'll see a bit more pace from him for sure.
There's Matt Neal then starting back on the ninth row of the grid, so 18th place, as he has to fight his way through. As you say, no ballast on board that car, whereas it was at maximum in the first race, but it was a bit irrelevant when he got that nerf from Plato through the first corner, which turned him sideways. Thankfully, he wasn't collected, because the whole field was behind him. He wasn't collected. He also missed the barrier. It could have been an awful lot worse, but actually the car in one piece.
Yeah, it could have been a lot worse, but fortunately all survived to tell the tale. Frank Rattle, of course, finished a brilliant fourth. I think his team had to find where the ballast box was to put the 18 kilos in there, because they've never carried it up till now.
A whole new experience for them. So Plato on pole, Alex McDowell over on the far side there, as the rest of the car still moving into place. Plato was pretty quick off the line in that first race. That Chevy is fast, usually at the start. Let's see whether they can repeat that performance once again. The 17th round about to get underway then. Track conditions are pretty good. Still bright and breezy. We've got a bit of cloud beginning to bubble up, but I think we're going to stay good and dry for the duration of this one. And it's Plato versus his teammate McDowell, with Gordon Shedden and Frank Rathel just behind, hoping to make a move up towards the first corner. Away we go then, and both Chevys are away. Well, McDowell slightly faster than Plato, I would say, but Plato's got the inside line as they head up towards Riches. Good start from the BMW towards the back of Rob Collard, and Plato, I think, is going to hold on. McDowell on the outside has got Shedden up the inside, and Shedden will try and take full advantage here and take second place in the Honda. He's still on the inside line, being followed by Frank Rathel. Jackson's on the outside. Which way do you go? Oh, and Plato's lost performance, and Shedden's gone through. There might have been a touch on the way in, but Shedden now leads.
Well, a brilliant first couple of corners from Shedden, just what he wanted, and he's got Nash through into second as well in front of Plato, so that's even better for him.
Paul O'Neill getting a bit crossed up but sorting it out. It's Shedden who leads, Nash in second, Plato now down to third under pressure from Frank Rathel. Frank Rathel dicing with Jason Plato, bits of Nash's car coming off. Everybody else just jostling for position at the moment, running out wide. That was Chilton, I think, running a bit onto the grass. Jordan, of course, might try to make up time as well after a disappointing first race, but it is Gordon Shedden who is just eking out a slight advantage over James Nash at the moment.
Yeah, Dave Newsham in the yellow special tuning Seat up to something like 6th place, I think. Oh, Rathel through.
Plato went wide, and Frank Rathel needed no second invitation. He was right through there, and so Frank Rathel would have loved that. He's just past Jason Plato. He's enjoying his first season of British touring cars.
Yeah, and more crucially, he's up to a podium place. I know there's a long way to go in this race, but he is so keen to get his first podium now.
So and off is Jace Jackson. It is Matt Jackson. He's going to rejoin. Let's hope he doesn't collect anybody. He does rejoin, loses a couple more places, and slots in behind Onslow Cole. So he might need to let Neil O'Neill through as well, because I think he would have gained that one.
Yeah, not sure where he was at the point he went off. As
Andy
further
Neate.
back, that's Andy Neate going off as well. So all action straight away in this second race.
Shedden beginning to ease away, Nash in second place, then Rathel in an amazing third place in the Toyota. The Chevys with their ballast on board do seem to be struggling a bit more in this second race of the day. Up towards Riches they come, and Rathel's looking the danger man. McDowell and Newsham side by side, followed by Onslow Cole in the Ford, and Tom Onslow Cole looking very good through Riches. Might try and duck down the inside into the hairpin at Montreal. Newsham's covering that line, and tucked in behind them is Matt Jackson, still ahead of Paul O'Neill. Matt Neal, by the way, is up into 10th place. So Matt Neal, pretty good first lap. He's made 8 places.
Yeah, that'll do nicely, thank you. But you can certainly see that immediately the addition of the ballast weight has hampered those 2 Chevys straight away. So the system does work.
Yeah, it does work. And Plato now trying to get back into the mirrors of Frank Rathel, having run wide on that previous lap. Let's take a look at the start again here.
Yeah, this is off the start line, on board with Nash, and you've got Rathel just moving across to protect the inside there, getting neatly inside and defending the line into Riches on the first corner, through Riches, hard on the power. We're on board with Nash. He's got somebody on his left. He's got no choice but to hug the inside. Slight lock up on the brakes.
That's interesting. He hit Rathel, who hit Shedden, and I think he hit Plato,
yeah,
maybe.
I think it was a concertina effect, wasn't it?
Yeah, so a real domino effect there going into that corner. So Shedden leads, Nash from Rathel, then Plato and McDowell, chased by Dave Newsham, and that's very tight between those 2 as they come down through Brundle into Nelson. And Newsham still hasn't quite got past the Chevy, so Newsham in 6th place, Onslow Cole in 7th, Matt Jackson is 8th, Paul O'Neill 9th, and Matt Neal still in 10th place. So after the initial progress that the former, well, he's still leading the championship, but Matt Neal in all much closer. He's not gained any more on this second lap as yet, and McDowell's car really moving around a lot.
Yeah, but Newsham was the big winner on that first lap. He started 10th and made up 4 places. A really good effort.
And joining the back of that queue then is Paul O'Neill. He's getting up behind Matt Neal. Then there's a gap back to Andrew Jordan. Chilton has just been passed by Jeff Smith, I think. So been a slight change there. Yet Chilton behind Smith. We're just looking on board as we come through Rich's corner. And we're on board with Matt Neal. He's sitting in 10th place. Jackson just ahead. Now, where can he find a place to overtake? That's the question mark.
Well, it's the old Focus against the new Focus. Matt Jackson in last year's Ford Focus, and of course Tom Onslow Cole in the new shape Global Ford Focus.
Yeah, they're just ahead of Matt Neal here, running over the curb through Palmer's. You can see they're kicking up the dust. They're getting a bit more risky now, perhaps, with running over the edge of the curbs. James Nash running up the line. He goes down the inside. Matt Neal makes the move into Agostini. Has he held it? No, he's gone in too deep. And Jackson reclaims the spot on the way out.
Well, as he went for that lunge, I thought if he stops the car, he's a very good driver. But of course, he did run wide, and Matt Jackson let him go and pulled neatly inside on the way out.
Good attempt though, and Matt Neal will have learned from that how you can't quite go in that fast, but difficult one to judge, to get in there quick enough to get past the guy, but still slow it down for the corner itself.
It's very tough, and it's one of those corners that just lures you in to brake later and later and later.
Yeah, so we're on to the Bentley straight now as they head down, and it's still Matt Jackson defending from Matt Neal. We saw how well Jackson defended earlier on today from Paul O'Neill. Now he's got some pretty serious opposition once again behind him, in form of championship leader Matt Neal. Tom Onslow Cole hops over the curb on the inside there and has to get across to try and stop Jackson, but Jackson's trying to get through. They touch Onslow Cole sideways. Matt Neal's going to get past both. Matt Neal gets them both and says, thanks guys, you can continue fighting. And look at that, side by side, O'Neill trying to get them now as well. He's got the inside line. This could be tricky. Under braking into the left-hander at Murray's, and I'm not sure as he made it. They've got through there anyway. O'Neill ahead of Jackson.
Yeah, and O'Neill did get through. Well, O'Neill was the final beneficiary of that move of Matt Jackson on Chilton between the exit of Nelson and the bomb hole.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jackson went for it, but actually he's paid the price, hasn't he? And that's the trouble. You make a move like that. Oh, O'Neill got big sideways on the exit of Riches. Jackson having another go, trying to come down the outside of him. In the background, there's some good racing going on. Is that Collard? I think, yeah. No, it's Foster. Foster, that one, was trying to get down the inside in the BMW, battling with Chilton and Smith. As we go back on board with Matt Jackson here, tucked in behind Paul O'Neill.
Well, this is role reversal. Remember, in the first race, it was Paul O'Neill desperately trying to get past Matt Jackson all the time, and so he really was going to take that opportunity when it presented itself.
Yeah, so Paul O'Neill now has got in front of Matt Jackson at last, but he still finds himself behind another Ford, and that's Tom Onslow Cole. But remember, Matt Neal got past them all into 7th place on that last lap. So Matt Neal started 18th, now up to 7th, and he's in the zone, of course, for the reverse grid to really help him in race 3. So even if Matt Neal doesn't make a huge amount of progress from here, he's got a great chance when we get to the third and final race of the day. Yeah,
he needs to make another place, though, to guarantee himself a slot, because it's anything between 6th and and 10th that gets reversed.
Yeah, good point. So he might be pretty keen to try and gain one more. Nash there in the black car second. Raffle, orange and black Toyota in third. Then behind them is still the two Chevys of Jason Plato and Alex McDowell. And look who's set the fastest lap on our timing screens. And there's a surprise. Fastest lap has gone to Rob Austin in the Audi on lap number 2, apparently. It's Rob Austin with fastest lap. Who'd have believed that?
Well, that's a really impressive time, a 1:59.3, and I mean, by comparison, Gordon Shedden's 1:59.6. So a fastest lap by some 3/10, and now unfortunately he's broken down.
Oh dear.
It was obviously too much for the car.
Yeah, one fly lap, but that's it. It's now expired by the look of it. That's a shame. Shedden leads then from Nash and Rathel, and Rathel again looking the one who might be able to put a bit of pressure on here in the remainder of this race. Still a long way to go. We're only on lap 5 out of 12. Who was that? Big forward was big sideways.
Well, it could have been Neil or Onslow Cole. It was about that sort of area, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But this will be interesting, because remember, James Nash wasn't sure his car could last the pace throughout the race, so there could be an opportunity for Rathel later in this race to really jump on top and maybe even get a second.
Yeah, absolutely. McDowell running wide a bit there. I think Onslow Cole was the one who got big sideways at Sir Rich's. He's lost a couple of places, I gather, so we'll have a look at that in a moment. But Nash, as you say, yeah, he's got to be a little careful, and presumably what he means is that maybe they've gone a bit more risky on suspension setup, might risk a puncture if they've really gone extreme.
Basically, when the teams say they've gone a bit more aggressive, it means they've wound a bit of extra camber on the front, which at least for a period will negate some of the understeer that all front-wheel drive cars suffer with. But whether it will then last the race with the additional tyre wear is the gamble that you play.
So Onslow Cole, big sideways moment again from Onslow Cole, really having to hang on to that Ford. It's gone very oversteering, and Jackson now with a chance to pass. O'Neill has already gone past Onslow Cole, so O'Neill is now up to 8th, but Matt Jackson's trying to get past the Ford as well in his Ford, the older car. Can he sweep round the outside into Brundle? No, he can't quite do it there, or nip down the inside here, and they're both being caught by Andrew Jordan at the same time. This is Jackson's place, this is where he tries to do it, but not this time, because Onslow Cole shuts the door.
Yeah, well, he wasn't actually alongside Onslow Cole, but he might be now. He might be now as we go into corner. This is so fast, and Onslow Cole's out on the marbles, and loses grip enough for Jackson to get through.
What a fantastic shot that was. Both cars drifting into the corner, but Jackson has done it, as you say. So he's gained a place. Onslow Cole's definitely struggling with rear tyre grip on that car at the moment, and he's going to watch out now because Andrew Jordan will try and take him as well. We go on to lap 6 then out of 12. Fine in a straight line, that car. It catches as they come up towards Rich's, but here he has to be a bit more careful because the back of the car wants to come through the corner before the front does, and you can see he just had to balance it a little bit. Now, let's see what's happening here. The Chevrolets of Plato and McDowell very close, aren't they?
Yeah, and Matt Neal has passed Dave Newsham for that crucial 6th place. So if it is 6 cars that get reversed, at least he's guaranteed a move forward on the grid for race 3.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a very, very crucial move for him. He's chasing the Chevys. Now, this is the move. Let's see how he did it. This was into Montreal, the first to the hairpins, the new corner. That was beautiful.
Yeah, Dave Newsham obviously thought he was braking as late as possible, didn't defend, and Matt did one of his typical lunges down the inside, but managed to slow the car down. And his next target is going to be the 2 Chevrolets, McDowell first, then Plato, who, you know, their pace has definitely been pegged back by the success ballast, because Shedden has sprinted away, and you know, Shedden is now 4.5 seconds ahead of Plato, and we couldn't see that in the first race.
No, definitely not. Byford is out, apparently. He's in the pits. Unfortunately, got a gearbox problem on the VW Golf, so he's not playing any further part in this. Newsham hasn't given up chasing Matt Neal here, has he? Because the yellow and black Seat there is still tucked in behind Matt Neal. Reigning Clio champion, of course, Dave Newsham. Started the season in a BMW, switched to this Seat to be teammate with Tom Borman, and he's been very impressive, and now he's not worried that it's Matt Neal ahead of him. He's going to give him a go here.
Yeah, remember, Matt Neal's racing in the fastest possible specification with no ballast on board, but it just shows how good that Seat Leon is. I mean, and also that possibly Dave Newsham was caught napping by Matt Neal, because he really...
Oh, he's in trouble. Matt Neal's in trouble. He's in the pits. That's why Newsham was getting closer and closer. He's in big trouble. Well, something's gone wrong with the car, and Newsham now does cross the line in 6th with Paul O'Neill breathing down his neck. What do you think could have gone wrong there?
Well, no idea, but Matt clearly knew what the problem is. Let's see what happens in the pit lane, unless
puncture? No.
Well, the car's being jacked up. He's got a vibration somewhere, serious vibration. When they check the wheels like that for movement or play, it means he can feel some serious vibration in the car.
Oh, what a weekend this is turning into for the former championship leader, because that's certainly the situation now. He will not be leading the points after this one. And Matt Neal's weekend here at Snetterton, well, you sort of have to count everyone having a pretty rough weekend at some point, and this is certainly a rough weekend for Matt Neal.
Yeah, I mean, how the championship can change, 2 races and 2 non-scores. He's been sent out again, I think. They checked the tyres, and I think they've sent him out for another exploratory lap or something. But they're obviously trying to analyse what the problem is. But his teammate Shedden, let's hope he doesn't have any similar problems.
No, still lapping quickly, Shedden. That was a 1:59.6 on the last lap compared to a 2:01 for Nash. Rathel did a 1:59.9. So Shedden's lap times here, Tim, are really holding up well.
Yeah, well, actually, that's his best lap time, 1:59.6. His last lap was a 2:03, but he's controlling this race, certainly. And he said he wanted to really get going in this second half of the season, and, well, this is the perfect situation for him. He's going to do... He had a good first race, podium, and now winning the second race, nice haul of points.
Yeah, absolutely, and with his home race of Knockhill coming up, he'll be looking forward to that. Newsham under pressure from Paul O'Neill here. Newsham driving very accurately, very nicely, but Paul O'Neill potentially quicker, as we saw in the first race. He's got a quick Chevy here, and through the corners in particular, it's very, very fast. Lovely out of Murray's there, but now can he do anything on the approach along the centre straight towards Riches, the first corner, but not quite there to attack on the way up to the double apex right-hander. Newsham fending him off for the moment. Behind them, it's still Matt Jackson in the airwaves forward, there it is, and then Onslow Cole running in 9th. Andrew Jordan's now got himself into 10th place. Collard is in 11th, by the way. Tom Chilton is 12th. Nick Foster 13th. Jeff Smith 14th. Tony Gillam is in 15th place. Newsham almost a touch too wide, but it didn't really open the door on the exit of the corner for Paul O'Neill to take advantage. But I can imagine that Paul might well try a few moves here before the end of the race.
Yeah, I'll tell you what though, Dave Newsham came from the Renault Clio Championship, and you don't get any closer one-make racing than that, and he knows how to defend in a closely fought battle, and he soaked up a lot of pressure en route to a record number of wins in the Clio Championship last year.
Yeah, very impressive indeed. We hear that Andy Neates retired as well, so that's another one out of the race. That's one of the Team Aon Fords. But we're watching Paul O'Neill still chase down Dave Newsham. There's Jackson, there is Onslow Cole. We're on board with Matt Jackson here as he chases Newsham and O'Neill. The gap has opened up for himself a little bit. Out to that curve they come onto the Bentley Straight. Big new viewing bank on the left-hand side, new place for people to be able to watch from. You never used to be able to get to that section.
Yeah, and judging by the crowds here, they think they need these viewing platforms because a lot of people are here. And, we've got Rathel coming under a lot of pressure from Plato, but that battle we were watching just before, Matt Jackson is catching that O'Neill-Newsham battle by a second a lap, so he's going to be on them when next time we come back to them. But let's concentrate on this battle, and now we'll see how good Rathel's defending skills are. That car's looking quite loose at the moment.
Yeah, maybe they've changed setup for this race, and it's beginning to look a little bit wayward. Remember, it's carrying ballast for the first time ever, and that's going to have an effect. Although Plato's got more ballast, they know what they're doing with that car when they Adelaide, because they've had to do it several times before.
Yeah, although it is only 18 kilos, it's not, it's the second level of success balance. It shouldn't make too much difference. Certainly not that the driver can really feel.
Bit of dark cloud in the background there, no sign of rain yet, but you wonder whether things are going to change later on this afternoon. Rathel holding on to third then, ahead of the two Chevys. He runs very wide, and that's going to give a great chance for Plato, but can Plato capitalise on the approach to the left-hander, because Rathel's on the inside, and there's no way through there for Jason Plato. Rathel held his nerve and held his ground, and stays in third place for the moment. Remember, he's looking at his first ever podium, but McDowell now wants to get involved in all this as well. And Plato knows he's got to bide his time and choose the correct moment. It's gone wide again. He's really struggling with the Toyota.
Yeah, and in order to keep the car on the road on the exits, he's having to turn in very late to those hairpins, which is going to leave the door open for a lunge up the inside. But as you say, it's going to be Newsham and O'Neill very quickly onto the back of these two.
Yeah, that's very true. It's interesting watching his line into those tiny corners. You're absolutely right. He really squares the corners off. And in touring cars, you do that, you are definitely going to get an invitation for someone to come up the inside.
Yeah, so sooner or later that's going to happen, but we'll see. So far, so good.
Yeah, so he's in third place. Up front, remember, it's Bill Shedden, chased by James Nash. Plato having a little look there into Brundle, but hopping over the curb, no problem. Over to the right they come. Plato playing it quite cautiously for him. I think he can see a podium finish here, but what he doesn't want to do is throw it away with a risky manoeuvre. Got a chance to nip up the inside here, trying to get a little bit of an overlap. He's there, and it could be two places in one go as the two Chevys steam past the Toyota. The Toyota just losing a bit of grip now. Frank Rathel has gone from third to fifth, and he's got Dave Newsham breathing on it down his neck.
Yeah, he's probably going to lose another couple of places, just running out of grip there. But Plato, of course, never raced one-on-one with Frank Rathel, so he was a little bit impatient just to see how Frank behaved and what he was going to do. Maybe he thought Frank would be a little bit more rough with him, bearing in mind that Frank's got nothing to lose and there was a podium at stake, but he just waited for the right opportunity, and McDowell was the opportunist and followed him through.
Yeah, now Paul O'Neill will hope that this will give him a chance, because now Newsham has caught Rathel, and we know Rathel's struggling a bit for grip. It might give Paul O'Neill a chance to take advantage. The wonderful little dice this is going to turn into. Jackson, you're riding with right now, part of the group, with O'Neill just ahead of you in the other Chevrolet Cruze, and the Go Mobile car, which has seemed to have been in battles all the way through.
Rathell's pulled over.
Yeah.
Rathell's pulled over. So maybe he had some developing problem. Maybe he's now got a puncture or something. I don't know. Doesn't look like it, actually. Doesn't look. No, he's got a problem. Oh, there's a bit of smoke coming out. So maybe he was losing engine power or something. But he was clearly hobbled a little bit earlier on in the race, and the team are so disappointed. A potential podium there gone.
A valiant effort, and he's done a sensible thing too, pulling the car off well over to the inside, won't affect the race. So he's still doing a great job, and he's still in his first season, remember, of British touring cars. So Shedden leads by just under 3 seconds from that car, James Nash. Third place is still Plato. Fourth place for Alex McDowell. Look behind though, Newsham and O'Neill. And O'Neill having a real old go as they come down. O'Neill's done it. He's gone around the outside. Fabulous. Paul O'Neill has gained the place. So on the one lap with Rathel going out and getting past Newsham, he's now got up to 5th place, and Paul O'Neill will be loving that. Has won here at Snetterton in the past, but that was a good few years ago. Got a podium finish a few seasons ago, but now he's up into 5th. He'll be pleased with that, and on board with Jackson, who might also have a go at getting past Newsham.
Yeah, that's one of the great overtaking places there, down into the left-hander at the end of the Bentley Straight Brundle. It's always great when you see two cars side by side with who is the bravest, and if you can hug yourself round the outside of the left-hander, you've got the inside for the second right-hander, Nelson, as it's now called, and that only the bravest drivers can do that. So that was thumbs up, well done for Paul O'Neill. You know when Paul's got his stander up and you see him driving like that, as down the inside comes Matt Jackson on Newsham. He's probably pushed him wide enough to get through.
Yeah, he's done it. He has managed, so that was nicely done. He got that little bit of an overlap, then just muscled his way through the rest of it. Fair news, that's touring car racing, and Jackson has gained the place, so that puts him into 6th. Newsham's back to 7th. Looks as though he's lost a bit of grip in this latter part of the race, almost as though the Seat was going really well in the early laps, but it just seems to have not quite had that grip in the later laps. Perhaps they gambled a bit more on a more aggressive setup as well.
Yeah, and maybe the track's sort of changing a little bit as well, and it's getting more understeering. I mean, Paul O'Neill is going to run out of laps here, but believe me, he's chasing down those factory Chevrolets as hard as he possibly can.
Yeah, that's right. He will want to see what he can do. He's in the last year's car, but it's basically the same as the cars that Plato and McDowell drive. Onslow Cole coming through there. He's still in 8th place, by the way. Andrew Jordan's in 9th. And Rob Collard is in 10th. John George out of his car, sadly. He got a black and orange flag, so there was obviously some problem with the car.
Yeah, but the whole Tech Speeds team there behind their fellow driver, John George's fellow driver in the Go Mobile Chevy. That's Paul O'Neill, and you know, he gets everybody up on their feet when he's driving like this.
Yeah, it's great to watch, and he is closing that gap. You're right, on the Chevys ahead of him. Alex McDowell, of course, is the first one. Going to be tough to put a move on him, but let's see what he can do. We're on lap 11 though, out of 12, so he's running out of time in which to do it as he heads around Coram down towards the left-hander at Murray's. There are your leaders. It's Shedden leading from Nash in 2nd. These two have a big advantage over the Chevys, running 3rd and 4th. O'Neill still in 5th place. Jackson now up to 6th, ahead of Newsham, but Newsham's still running, so the car looks to be holding together reasonably well. Onto the final lap, the leaders have gone now, and Shedden seems to have this one pretty well under control. Nash in no way able to challenge at this point.
Yeah, well, I have to say it proves to me that the equivalence, the parity, if you like, is pretty close, because Shedden couldn't do anything about the Chevys in the first race when they had no ballast. This race, he's managed to pull away and win fairly comfortably. Nash took that gamble on the setup. It looks like he's going to come off with a good second, a good podium. Plato will be happy enough with third or with maximum ballast, but of course we're going to come up to the reverse grid, and who's to say that Matt Jackson in 6th place won't end up on the front and take a 4th win, perhaps, from a reverse grid?
Well, let's say, we'll have to wait and see on that one. Nash, as you say, has done a good job, and in the independence battle, this is quite important, because coming into this event, he was behind Jackson and Jordan. He's outscored both of them in both races. Jackson's back in 6th, Jordan's in 9th. So for James Nash and that independent title, which has got to be his main objective, this is proving to be a very good weekend.
Yeah, so far so good, and it's interesting how the races develop, how people have developed their cars, even over 2 races. Remember, they've never raced on this track before.
No, that's right. He's going to come home second by the looks of it. Yet to win his first race, James Nash, although he's led here in the past. It looked like he wanted Jackson. Jackson having a go on, getting past O'Neill. Nearly making contact into the left-hander Brundle, but that was lovely racing from the two of them. They gave each other just enough space, and there is Paul O'Neill's T-Boss just nervously watching this final lap.
Marvin Humphrey's been around a long time to know what goes on in touring cars, but I tell you what, I mean, Jackson is flying, because he's caught O'Neill and O'Neill has caught McDowell and Plato. Look in the background, no, they're still in the same position.
So Shedden takes the victory then. James Nash finishes in 2nd place. Plato is going to finish in 3rd ahead of his teammate McDowell, and it's going to stay the same behind. O'Neill, a fine 5th place for him. Jackson in 6th position as they cross the line. 7th goes to Dave Newsham, 8th to Tom Oslo Cole. Andrew Jordan will take 9th, and Collard in the BMW takes 10th. And of course, it might be as many as 10 cars that get reversed on the grid for race 3 later on today, so we'll have to find out in a few minutes' time exactly how many cars will be swapped around. There is Matt Neal. Well, he finishes down in 17th place, 2 races out of the points, and from coming in leading the championship here, it has proved to be an absolutely horrible day at Snetterton for Matt Neal. He's never won that many races at this track, and certainly the new layout is not being kind to him today.
No, well, he's been lapping quickly at the end of the race, the quickest car on the circuit, so I don't know whether the team changed that left front. We were slightly unsighted when he was in the pit lane, but something happened there. But yeah, 2 races, no points.
Yeah, but there's your race winner. It is Gordon Shedden. It's his 3rd win of the year, Honda's 8th victory of the season, and it's also his 3rd win here at Snetterton. So Gordon Shedden really putting himself back into that championship hunt against his teammate, and he will, I think, have moved ahead of Matt Neal in the championship points now as a result of that. So he will be delighted with that. A 3rd and a 1st in the 2 races so far this weekend. What a brilliant start. The reverse grid, of course, will hurt him a little bit more, but we'll have to wait and see exactly what that does. So Shedden making his way back in. James Nash in 2nd place. Plato, that 3rd position, I think he'll be pretty happy with that, relative with the weight on board the car.
Yeah, I mean, he'd have hoped for more, but realisation would have set in very quickly when he realised that he just didn't have the pace. So, better to take 3rd, and that's the way it's supposed to work, really. When I always think when a car wins the first race and then wins the second with maximum ballast added, it's there's something, it's not quite right, but that's the way it's supposed to work, and good racing it provided too.
So down there, just slowing it down, picking up a bit of the rubber. There's a lot of rubber getting kicked off around the track. Let's see if we can find out what Matt Neal's problem was. We'll talk to him on the radio, see if he can hear us this time. He couldn't earlier today. Matt has been in the commentary box. What was your problem there?
I got a slow puncture bun.
Oh, that's really rough. So that was the left front, presumably, was it?
Yes, mate.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Norfolk Snetterton is not being kind to you today.
Looks like it might be a long drive home tonight.
Could well be, yeah. Sorry about that. So you get the emotion straight away from Matt Neal.
There's nothing worse, I can tell you, than the drive home when you've had a bad weekend. But it's not over yet. He's got the last race to get some points on the board, and he knows he'll go away and he'll know that the championship will fluctuate throughout the year.
Yeah. The result of the second race of the day here at Snetterton, seeing Snetterton take victory for the Honda Racing team ahead of James Nash by 1.5 seconds, but Plato finished third and his Silverline Chevrolet teammate McDowell was fourth. Paul O'Neill was a fighting fifth in the Go Mobile car, Matt Jackson sixth for Airwaves, and Dave Newsham a good seventh but had to just lose a place or two towards the end. Onslow Cole eighth, Andrew Jordan up to ninth, and Rob Collard finished in 10th. Outside the top 10 then we saw Foster and Chilton, Tony Gillam and Liam Griffin, then Lee Wood, Jeff Smith and Matt Neal only 17th after that slow puncture. Dan Welsh finished 18th in the Proton, ahead of some of those in trouble like Tony Hughes and poor Frank Rathel, who could have been on for a podium finish in the early stages of that race. So in terms of the championship, look at that, Snetterton has indeed gone ahead, not only of Matt Neal, but Matt Jackson's also gone past Matt Neal. So Matt's gone from first to third in the one race there. Big chase, 6 points now only separating the top three, and then behind Jason Plato is only 12 points further back. So it really is getting very tight at the top of the table. James Nash though, that second place has helped him because he's up to 5th position, and as I say, in terms of the battle of the independents, that's crucial too. He's battling with Andrew Jordan and Matt Jackson, but the independents table is actually scored slightly differently. So the important thing from his point of view is he'll have got maximum of points for an independent win in that race, and that will really boost his chances. Collard 7th in the championship, tied with Alex McDowell, and we've got Tom Chilton and Paul O'Neill in the top 10 as well. And race 3 nearly always provides us with some extra fun and games, Tim, because the reverse grid will have its effect. Dave Newsham though starting up front, I wouldn't bet against him, you know, he's been going great guns this weekend.
Well, you got 3 people at the front really keen to do something. Dave Newsham, his first pole, obviously. Matt Jackson, who's won 3 races already from a reverse grid and has shown good pace. And Paul O'Neill, who's really loving this weekend and is in his best grid position to take advantage of those two.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic fun, and with this being the final race today, you can bet they're going to go for it. They're going to try and find some new positions to overtake.
Yeah, and the one man, of course, who scored nothing this weekend was former championship leader Matt Neal. Starting near the back, he's going to be on a charge.
Fantastic. Well, let's see how this is all going to go then, and take a look at how they line up. It is Dave Newsham on pole position then in the Seat. Let's see what he can do, but he's got Matt Jackson alongside, Paul O'Neill and Alex McDowell on the second row, and Jason Plato in his Silverline Chevy on row 3 with James Nash, who's also been having a good weekend. Gordon Snetterton, winner earlier on, he's alongside Tom Onslow Cole, Andrew Jordan and Rob Collard coming from row 5, then Nick Foster and Tom Chilton. Behind them we've got Tony Gillam and Liam Griffin, Lee Wood and Jeff Smith, Matt Neal having to come all the way from 17th on the grid, Dan Welsh in the Proton is alongside him, and then it's Tony Hughes and John George, Andy Neaton and Martin Byford, Rob Austin in the Audi towards the back, as is Chris James, and indeed also having to do a little bit of work from further down than hoped for was Frank Rathel after his problems earlier. We saw him there lined up on the grid, but Andy Neaton having to start from pit lane by the looks of it, so problems there for Andy. He's not have a particularly good weekend either in his third Aeon Ford, but hopefully they will get him out to join from the pit lane and get onto the back of the field. So being led around at the moment by Dave Newsham. Another one who's not really had the sort of weekend that we've perhaps come to expect this year at least is Andrew Jordan, driving the Pertec car. He's starting from the inside of the 5th row. There's Andy. Let's see if we can grab a quick word with him. Andy, it's Ben, you haven't really quite had the weekend that you might have hoped for so far, but perhaps you can improve on things in this one.
Yeah, you could say that, mate. It's been a bit of a day to forget so far, and yesterday didn't go according to plan. Been struggling with the handling and straight line speed compared to the other Vectras. We've got a bit of an issue as well, so we've done everything we can to try and find it, and we've not quite found it yet. So just damage limitation, try and score as many points as we can and stay out of trouble, but not been the weekend we wanted at all.
We're just watching from your foot cam at the moment, so we can see you when you're on the brake and the throttle. That's an interesting view for us. Yeah, thank you. Nice little dance.
I've actually got my dancing shoes on, as you can see, these flash white ones. They're not being very fast for me today though, so we'll see what we can do in this one.
Okay, have a good one. So an interesting view there, Tim, from in behind the pedals.
Yes, I think a place on Strictly awaits Andrew Jordan for sure.
Well, it worked for Helio Castroneves in the States.
Exactly, multi-talented these racing drivers. But yeah, a little bit of frustration there. Obviously, he's seen the 888 Vectra of James Nash have a good second place. So clearly there's something missing from the Pertec Vectra this weekend.
So you can see him hard on the brakes and then back on the throttle again as they all just build up that gradual heat in the tyres that they're looking for going into the first lap. Look at the dip on the nose as they brake hard. You saw James Nash do that a second ago. And everyone now getting more and more used to this new layout, of course, and I do think that we might see a little bit more risk taken in race 3. That's often the case. And Newsham just bringing the field up to the line. Nice position for him to be in, of course. First time that he started a British touring car race from pole. There's the team, and they're all looking pretty excited too.
Yeah, special tuning, really enthusiastic bunch. I think it's good for the team to have two drivers as well, because when you've got all your eggs in one basket and you have a bit of bad luck, you've got no one else to rely on. And I think Dave Newsham and Tom Boardman have been a really good pairing.
Yeah, definitely. Tom has had a bit of a rough weekend, hasn't he? But hopefully Dave Newsham's going to be able to make up for that in this race. But can he take a victory? That's a question. Of course, still in his first season. Matt Neal, though, coming from a long way back because he's back on road number 9. And there you are. That's the onboard view with Matt. We heard how dejected he was after that second race when he picked up a slow puncture. He's now found himself in 3rd place in the championship. He's lost that title lead. It's Gordon Shedden, his teammate, who now leads the championship. All the cars then just moving into position, and that's, well, I say that, of course, Andy Neat's car still being worked on in pit lane. Interesting what they're fiddling around with there.
Yeah, usually anything like that is just a roll bar adjustment. It's about all you can do underneath. Whether somebody realised they hadn't done it up or it wasn't in the right setting for what they want to do for this race, but clearly they decided just to use the time at the end of the pit lane for the last little bits of work.
The final race of the day here at Snetterton, due to get underway then, round 18 of the championship, and it has stayed dry all day, so we're looking at some good hard racing to complete the action. Away we go then, Newsham off the line, Matt Jackson makes a good start from the outside of the front row, then you've got the Chevy of Paul O'Neill, and then the 2 Silverline cars of McDowell and Plato heading up towards Riches, but Newsham does it. He gets into the first corner ahead. O'Neill gets ahead of the 2 Silverline cars. Gillum is making up the place there by the looks of things, and Matt Neal trying to nip through. Oh no, that's Liam Griffin in the other airwaves forward. He might smooth the barrier on the inside. Up front, Dave Newsham is leading with Jackson in second, O'Neill in third, but it's gone wrong for Liam Griffin very early.
Yeah, great starts for Dave Newsham and Matt Jackson. Both got away cleanly and were able to take a normal racing line into the first corner. But so the front 3 as they started.
So Newsham it is who leads in the Seat, with Matt Jackson still tucked in behind. Look at a little bit of an opportunity down the inside into Agostini. That's Nash. No, it's Jordan. Sorry, Jordan trying to squeeze past Collard and trying to get the move done. He might have the inside line for the next, but he's being squeezed into Hamilton, and side by side through there. They hit! Around goes Jordan. Collard loses time as well. What a shame, but contact made through the left-hander.
Yeah, that's a corner where we haven't seen any action so far today. It really is strictly a one car through there at a time, and I think they both thought they'd brave it out and the other would give in, and of course neither of them did.
No, well, they weren't going to give up that easily. There is Nash, he's tucked in behind McDowell, so it's Newsham from Jackson, then O'Neill and Plato, McDowell from James Nash, and James Nash has got Gordon Shedden behind him, so first lap from Shedden hasn't really made up much place. Nash hopping over that curb. He told me to do that when I drove his car yesterday, actually, and I said, no way am I going to try that, but he obviously likes that line.
Yeah, he likes the line, but he shouldn't really be using it this early in the race when the tyres are still not up to full pressure. We saw a puncture to Matt Neal in the last race, and it's a risky policy.
Yeah, well, Newsham doing a great first lap here. Look at that. He's opened up 2 or 3 car lengths over Matt Jackson in second place. I tell you what, he's going to be tough to beat off this first lap. Let's take another look at the start of the race here. This is on board Matt Neal.
Yeah, really good start. Just the right balance of throttle and clutch to get the car driving away neatly. He goes off the line really well, looks down the inside. Look back in your left and you'll see Liam Griffin just get sideways. Coming into shot there, he's already sideways. Difficult to tell if there was contact there from the rear. Might well have been, but that's the end of his day.
Byford ended up on the grass on the other side, but I think he's still running. And it's a change. Yeah, Matt Jackson has taken the lead. Jackson ahead of Newsham. O'Neill is still in third place. Then it's Plato bearing down on them. The winner of the first race of the day, Jason Plato, chased by Alex McDowell behind. So Newsham seemed to have a little bit of a margin, but somewhere along the line, whether he's made a mistake or what, Jackson has now taken over. So is he heading for yet another race 3 victory this year and continue his championship chase? Perhaps not in the typical style of qualifying up front and winning the early races, but you've got to win whatever you can, and Jackson on target, but behind O'Neill, using so much curb, cutting that Williams corner onto the Bentley straight, with Plato bearing down on him.
Yeah, half the car across the inside of the track there for Paul O'Neill, but we'll hopefully get a replay of how the lead changed. Maybe it was at the Montreal hairpin, maybe it was coming out before Palmer's.
Yeah, well, Newsham just dropping back a little bit now from Matt Jackson. He'll love this, because Newsham and then the Chevrolets might give Jackson a chance to make a bit of a break here as they come into Coram. Now, of course, a corner that keeps on tightening. They've got to balance, slow it all down, anchor up a little bit, down through the gears here and into the left-hander at Murray's. A little bit of typical smoke off the right rear tyre under braking, and actually Newsham's had a really good exit there, putting Jackson under pressure.
Yeah, very neat and tidy through that corner. Initially came out a bit quicker. The Ford now you can see is slightly quicker, just ever so slightly quicker on the straight. Both these cars running without any ballast, so a genuine comparison of engine performance. The Ford engine prepared by Dave Mountune, so you know that's clearly producing the power.
Yeah, a little bit of a lock up into Montreal, and behind O'Neill has got a chance of getting alongside Newsham here, but I don't think he'll be correctly placed for the next corner, although he might cut back to the inside, looks about and thinks about it, but Newsham's got too much for him, so again he has to slot back into place. Mind you, Paul O'Neill currently sitting in third place. He'd take a podium, I'm sure, if he could hold on to it, with Plato behind and McDowell, followed by James Nash, Gordon Shedd, Onslow Cole is 8th. Gillam is in an excellent 9th, by the way. Tony Gillam, good effort from him in the opening lap here. He's 9th, and Matt Neal is in 10th. Oh, look at this.
Shedden and Nash side by side, and it'll be almost a repeat of the Jordan incident, but Shedden gets through cleanly. Nash gives him space, someone off in front wide.
Yeah,
that would have been one of the two Chevys, but that time they got through neatly.
Tom Onslow Cole in car number 4, tucked in behind. And by the way, Matt Neal, I think in the background, got past Tony Gillam. So Matt Neal's got up to 9th place now, coming from row number 9, having to fight his way through the order as much as possible. Is Matt Jackson, who leads this race, looking to try and score maximum points once again here. Chased hard by Newsham, then O'Neill, the two Chevrolets, then Shedden, Nash and Onslow Cole. There is Matt Neal ahead of Tony Gillam, and Gillam is having to protect pretty feistily from Nick Foster and Rob Collard. The two BMWs are gagging up on him here.
Yeah, they certainly are, and but Gillam is a real fighter, literally on and off the circuit, so he won't give an inch. But yeah, the BMWs running in tandem. Still be disappointed, I think, with their weekend, but Knockhill could be better for them.
It's nice to see Gillam running well again. He had some good races in the early part of the year. He's been out of luck today. A couple of incidents, got involved in somebody else's incident earlier today. So he'll be pleased with this. Austin with a bit of damage to the front of the Audi, but he's running in 14th place. 15th currently is Lee Wood, and 16th position for Jeff Smith. But up across the line they come. Gillam having to defend quite hard here from Foster as Jackson continues to lead this race from Newsham and O'Neill. O'Neill again trying to size him up on the entrance to Montreal. There's no way through. Gets a good exit, but he can't do anything with it.
No, it's Newsham's car seems to really struggle on the hairpins. Can't get around tightly enough, but there's such a short distance between. Oh, it's very close now. Will Paul O'Neill send it up the inside into the Agostini hairpin? He maybe isn't close enough. Not this lap.
Not this lap, no.
But clearly the hairpins are where Dave Newsham is struggling a little bit against the lighter, more agile Chevrolets.
Yeah, so that's what O'Neill's got to think about. In the background you can see Shedden still ahead of James Nash. Nash not going quite as well in this race as he did in race 2. O'Neill runs a bit wide. Got to be careful there, because otherwise Plato will be through in a flash. I think he's managed to defend it so far, as long as he hasn't lost momentum through the next right-hander at Williams. There's just a light dab on the brake again. He cuts the corner big time, but gets himself a little bit of oversteer as a result.
Yeah, playing risky with his tyres there, because very easy to pick up a puncture. But of course, going back to Nash, he's now carrying 36 kilos of ballast, having finished second in the second race, so that's hampering him. We saw what effect it had on the Chevrolet, so don't expect too much from James Nash in this race.
No, and you have to say that Shen in this group, but not fighting forward, but he's still going okay, considering he's carrying a lot of ballast on his car, isn't he?
Yes, he is, but I mean, Matt Jackson will be very happy for it to finish now with all these cars between him and Shedden. That's a perfect championship situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that would probably be enough for him to take the lead, so let's see what happens. So plenty of time to go. We're only on lap 4 out of 12, about to be lap 5, as Matt Jackson will cross the line any second now, and it's Newsham from Paul O'Neill in the Go Mobile purple-coloured Chevrolet Cruze, chased by two very similar Chevrolet Cruzes, the Silverline cars of Jason Plato and Alex McDowell. Now, what's happened to Andrew? No, it's not Andrew Jordan we're looking at, I don't think. It is Jeff Smith, all right, his teammate, the other Pertec car.
Yeah, he just got a bit of a slide on turning around the left-hand part of Brundle, and decided discretion was the better part of valour and better off to straighten it out. Gillam still defending from Foster. And
this might allow Collard to get both of them if he can just judge this correctly, because he's behind the two there. And they're all just closing up on Tom Onslow Cole, I think, too. So I don't know whether Onslow Cole, I think he lost a bit of time just then. I think he might have picked up the dust we saw a moment ago. So Onslow Cole has dropped himself into the clutches of Gillam and those two BMWs. Meanwhile, Newsham still fending off Paul O'Neill for the moment. How long can he do this? He might be new to touring cars, Dave Newsham, but the experience he gained in Clios last year, particularly in other forms of racing, he's won at least one race in every form of racing he's done over the past few years. John George in trouble there.
Yeah, sure. Looks like there was somebody else involved. He was running with Martin Byford up the inside of Smith, a recovering Smith.
Wow.
But no, too optimistic. That was never on.
Yeah, that was fairly dramatic the way it rode up over the other car, but may well be damaged. I don't know whether he's going to get much further. So Newsham still in second place in the yellow and black Seat, chased by Paul O'Neill and Jason Plato. But for Newsham, this is a new experience, being quite this far up and ahead of some of the real star names. The 44-year-old Newsham runs, he's the MD of a family company, but I tell you what, he is a good driver as well, and has really adapted quickly to this Seat, and he's fending off Paul O'Neill and Jason Plato at the moment.
Yeah, I've been very impressed with Dave's driving. He's very economical. He makes very few mistakes. He uses the maximum width of the road, but not making any mistakes. He makes him a very hard man to pass, and that's the skill learnt in one-make racing in Renault Clios, where you have to always keep your speed up. Any time lost. This is a replay now of Rob Austin coming through there, and now that was Andrew Jordan clipping those barriers, and that went with
O'Neill's coming. Yeah, he's having a second, and Plato I think might get him as well. It's that hairpin. You said he was struggling at the hairpin, and that's where he's lost the place. He's lost one, but not two. Not yet anyway. But he might run wide here. Plato will try and get the inside line down towards Agostini. Plato can't quite get there. Newsham's defending it, and I think, oh no, he's not going to try.
A little knock from Plato, just trying to push him wide. And I'm not sure if that's what happened at the first hairpin at Montreal with Paul O'Neill. Maybe there was a little contact. Nothing on the front of Paul O'Neill's car, so maybe Dave Newsham just locked up a little bit and went wide after I said he never made mistakes.
Well, the commentator's curse as ever. Meanwhile, Shedden is close in behind McDowell, isn't he? Look at that. You can see the Honda there. The back of that group is right in behind Alex McDowell now. Look. And McDowell's going to have to watch his mirrors as they come down the Bentley Straight towards Brundle to try and keep him behind. This is all helping Matt Jackson, who's opened up his advantage to 1.8 seconds now, probably more in fact, as they head down the straight.
Yeah, and it doesn't really matter to Matt Jackson who's in second or third, as long as Shedden stays at further back in that group.
But look at Matt Neal here, Tim, because he's now caught the back of that group. He's behind Nash, so he's up to 8th place, and a real opportunity for him to get on terms with the Chevrolets as well, perhaps.
Yeah, well, if anybody could make progress through this group, it would have to be Matt Neal, because he's got no ballast on his car. So he's probably the fastest car on the track.
Yeah, good advantage for him if he can just get in that little bit closer. Also, his technique of going in tight to corners could well suit him on some of these overtaking opportunities.
Yeah, it means that he's used to the grip and knows how to feel what the car will feel like when he does go up the inside of cars into the hairpins, and he has caught Nash very quickly, as you said.
Yeah.
Watch him on the brakes here. If we stay on board, see how much he gains on the brakes into Montreal, because we'll see how strong the car is then on the brakes. Well, there's your answer. It's very strong. He closes right up, doesn't lose anything mid-corner or on the exit. So Matt Neal has a good race car under him and a good car for overtaking.
Yeah, little dab on the brake through the left-hander at Palmy. Late apex there, because otherwise you run out of road on the right-hand side, past the new spectator banking where people are getting a fantastic view of this circuit. Down to the hairpin, another great spectating area, down into Agostini, not close enough, and in fact he's almost decided to try and cut back later to get the better exit.
Yeah, I think he actually ran on a bit further than he wanted to. It just made it look like he was doing it deliberately by cutting back, as you say, on the exit, but he could make progress. And this race is so reminiscent of all the other Matt Jackson sort of third race wins he's had, and I'm not counting my chickens or cursing him now, but he makes a strike early on in the race and then establishes a gap which he can hold to the end. Oh, that was Shedden.
Yeah.
Shedden hit the plastic barriers. Will that slow him up?
Yeah, tricky. There was some sort of rubbish and dust on the track, and they all ran a little wide through there. It didn't help any of them, but I think Shedden's got away with it.
Yes, he's got wing damage, and that could be questionable whether that becomes mechanical flag.
Matt Neal's gone past Nash behind. Matt Neal just got past James Nash. That's another place gained. But you're right, look at that, dangling away that front wing.
Well, definitely that is something the Clarks may take a dim view of and may put out the mechanical flag, the black flag with the orange spot on it, to see if he gets called in.
That would be pretty harsh. He is leading the championship coming into this race, remember, but now his teammate Matt Neal is his next opponent, because Matt has caught them all up over the course of the early stages of this race. Black and orange flag for number 78, that's for Chris James, not at the moment for Gordon Shedden, as he has that left front wing flapping away. Not going to help him in a straight line for speed either, is it?
No, it's not, but I mean, it doesn't seem to be getting any worse, and hopefully the Clark will take a view on that, but it's not getting any worse.
What's going on here? Newsham wide again. Plato
really struggling at that corner.
Yeah, really is. Bit of debris down there, which Plato was quick to avoid. He doesn't want to pick up a puncture by running over some debris that's been put on track. And this is the race for third position, remember, that we're looking at. Newsham still holding on to third. Paul O'Neill is in second place, remember. The race was still being led by Matt Jackson. McDowell sits behind his teammate in fifth. Shedden is in sixth. Matt Neal in seventh. And James Nash now down to eighth place. Onslow Cole is in ninth. Nick Foster is in 10th, past Tony Gillan, by the way. So there has been a change back there. Gillan back down to 11th. Rob Collard is 12th. Chilton 13th. Rob Austin currently 14th.
And Matt Jackson in the lead, Paul O'Neill in second, set identical lap times on the last lap. So 2 3/4 seconds the difference between first and second, but equal lap times. The reason the cars are running wide there now is because they've dragged so much dust onto the track through the corner. There isn't the grip, lateral grip, and that's what's affecting them. So they're making a rod for their own back, really.
That's right. Now, this is a moment ago. I think Rob Austin got past Tom Chilton, got down the inside, and there you go, fairly straightforward pass for him, and that's put him up into 12th place. No, it might even be, yeah, I think it's 12th place now. We'll check that when they come back. Matt Jackson passed his lap a little while ago, but he's built that lead up to 2.7 seconds over Paul O'Neill. Newsham beginning to work quite hard in the steering now.
Yeah, there's a lot of effort going in there. This is the hard section where they're steering, braking, trying to control the car, but he always seems to get the car just nicely into that last left-hander and a good exit.
James Nash, meanwhile, catching Gordon Shedden a little bit at the back of the group as well. As that wing flaps away, it doesn't help his straight line speed. James Nash is getting a bit closer. What about Matt Neal? Is he closing on McDowell? I think he might just be a little bit.
Wow, look, you talk about working hard. Did you see the oversteer on as he turned in there? There was a lot of wheel action going on there through Riches, the fast corner, turn one.
Yeah, Nash in the background, just trying to line up Gordon Shedden as well. And Matt Neal's last lap, yeah, well, it was quite a lot quicker last time around than McDowell ahead of him. So he is catching, isn't he, those Silverline Chevys ahead of him.
Yeah, almost a second quicker when he needs to be, so don't expect Matt to stop at this point.
No, as long as he doesn't get too much oversteer. But as you say, the back of the car now beginning to look a little less solid than it was in the early part of the race. Newsham still doing a fine job, still hoping to hold on to his first ever British Touring Car podium. That's a great view looking into the cockpit as he flicks the gear change up. turns it into the left-hander at Hamilton, keeps Jason Plato behind him for the moment, and that would be such a feather in his cap if he could beat the reigning champion and the man who's chasing hard to score the points to take another title this year. And the winningest driver, to use that expression, of course, Jason Plato, Newsham would love to stay in front of him.
Yeah, see on that frontal shot of Dave Newsham, he has his hands quite high on the wheel, almost at sort of 5-to-1 position, whereas most drivers tend to keep their hands almost at sort of 2-to-3, but seems to work for him anyway.
Yep, technique works well for him. And the Seat running very strongly at the moment in this race, and for this little team, what a tremendous opportunity this is for them. Tom Baldwin getting a podium earlier on this year. Whether they can back that up now with Dave Newsham, that would be quite something. You're on board with Matt Neal. This lap doesn't look as though it's been quite as good as the previous one, because he hasn't caught so much on this last lap, and maybe just suffering for grip a touch now.
Well, he would have taken quite a lot out of his tyres in this charge through, but I still think he should have far superior pace to the cars in front. We'll see as they come across the line now, and Plato McDowell come across the line at 2-minute 1.4, and in fact Neil was slightly slower on that lap, so you were right, he didn't close up at all.
Maybe just lost a bit of ground somewhere. He's got to try and smooth it all out and get the grip back if he can. As you say, under braking he's pretty good. Typical Matt Neal line to go in tight, even though he's not trying to overtake. He loves those tight entry lines.
Yeah, shorter distance to travel, but he has the technique of just allowing the car to stop and turn before he fires it out, rather than going in on that line too fast and the car pushing out wide. Very, very individual style.
Yeah, and it works very effectively. So he's closing up on Alex McDowell. These guys all trying to get past Dave Newsham in the Seat. Black and orange for number 52. That is Shedden. Shedden has been given a black and orange. He does have to come in the pits and have that wing removed. That has a huge consequence in terms of championship points. And the championship leader there, who was leading coming into this race, will now have to make a pit stop.
Well, I'm surprised because it hasn't got any worse, and it doesn't really show any signs of detaching, but clearly the Clark feels it is a hazard out there potentially, and certainly you wouldn't want to be...
Who was that? Somebody's gone short, somebody's gone across.
It's Shedden, and the wing's come off now anyway. The wing has come off anyway, yeah. So he might as well carry on, and they might withdraw the black and orange.
Well, do they? Oh, yeah, that's an interesting call. Do you stay out there now, or what?
No, he should definitely stay out there. There's no hazard there at all. The car, I mean, it's perfectly broken off. No hazard at all. I mean, yeah, they've taken it in. I've seen out of the commentary box, they've withdrawn the black and orange. So, I'd love to think that was deliberate by Shedden.
Let's see. Yeah, no, I wonder.
No way could he have judged that. No way. I don't believe that he could have judged that, but I'd love to think it was, because it would be the most brilliant bit of driving we're likely to see all year.
Well, he let it run pretty wide early in the corner. I wonder if it was a deliberate thing. If he did, it was brilliant. But we will find out after the race. But he doesn't have to come in the pits. He's got rid of the offending wing, and he's continuing in 8th place. Well, how about that?
Unbelievable.
Tell you what, if he wins the championship by a few points, that'll be the moment of the year, won't it?
It will.
Look at this, Plato side by side with Newsham. Real chance here for Plato, but he just can't get in front before they turn in.
No, Newsham just has enough straight line speed to get to the entry of the corner side by side, and then of course Plato can't turn in. And Plato's being very patient here. But will Matt Neal be quite as patient? Doesn't look like it. He's rattling the back of McDowell's car already.
Yeah, he is. McDowell, of course, acting as a bit of a buffer here for Plato, so Plato can attack Newsham without worrying too much about defending from his teammate. But McDowell has got the job of keeping Matt Neal behind him.
Yeah, I don't believe, in fairness, there are any team orders between Matt Neal and Plato. I think McDowell's just being respectful. If there's a chance, he'll go for it. But it's helping. I see Jason's taking that tight line now, the O'Neill line we'll call that. But I don't think it really helps, to be honest.
No, it doesn't seem to give them any kind of advance down the straight. So Newsham still holding on to 3rd. Remember, he's looking for his first ever podium. We are on lap 11 out of 12 now, and Newsham might be able to do it, you know. He's having to go more defensive, and now Plato's got the chance. Now Plato snatches the opportunity. He was so patient, as you say, Tim, but when the chance came, he was right there.
Absolutely, and it was right on a strong point for the Chevy. The Chevy very good through that corner and through the bomb hole. Well, there's the team watching on, anxiously hoping their man can bring it home. Oh,
McDowell and Matt Neal. Look at Matt Neal trying to get past. McDowell hops the curve. This will give Matt Neal a chance under acceleration to get him on the centre straight now. Up to the outside he comes. Now, this is going to be the drag race up towards where he's done it. He's surely done it yet because McDowell's exit was compromised. So Matt Neal goes ahead in that position. He's now up into 5th place from the 9th row of the grid. From 17th, he's up to 5th.
Yeah, great drive. We expect it, and he will be trying very hard to get Newsham. Newsham is vulnerable into this hairpin. He's slowing the car down, taking a tight line, trying to hold it in so he doesn't get caught again. Neal has got bags of grip over the Seat Leon in front of him.
Yeah, damage on the front of Matt Neal's car, but doesn't seem to be slowing in. There's a bit wide there, Newsham. This is going to be one of the last chances, though, because we're on the last lap. So can Matt Neal catch Dave Newsham unaware? He's going to have a little look. No, not quite there, into Agostini, and he's got to watch out because he's allowed McDowell to get alongside. McDowell trying to get his place back now, but he can't quite do it there. Danger territory, that, for Matt Neal.
Yeah, it was danger territory, but Matt Neal had enough exit speed and turbo power to just pull ahead of the normally aspirated Chevy.
And Newsham again fighting the car a little bit on turn into Oggies. Back end of the car really moving around a lot now for Newsham. He is struggling to hang on to it. So Matt Neal might still have a final chance. Newsham runs a bit wide on the exit but keeps his foot hard on the throttle.
Yeah, Newsham had 3 turn-in stabs at that corner. That's how iffy it is on the back end. Matt Neal's been forced to go round the outside. Will he brave it all the way around the outside? I think he will, and he may do it.
Round the outside, Matt Neal's done it. Fantastic manoeuvre from Matt Neal. That's why he's a former double champion. That's why he's fighting for the title this year. And Matt Neal's taken himself into 4th place. What a performance that, into the first part of what was known as the S, is now known as Brundle and Nelson. And as they come around this lap, it is going to be Matt Jackson to take victory. Here is Matt Jackson. He's done it again in race 3 of the day. Jackson takes victory for Airwaves Ford. 2nd place goes to Paul O'Neill, a brilliant podium for him. 3rd goes to Jason Plato, but Newsham's lost more. It's Matt Neal who finishes in 4th place. Across the line, it's McDowell in 5th, Nash in 6th, Shedden in 7th, and poor Dave Newsham only 8th in the end. Oh, he had a podium within his grasp, but Newsham just had no grip on the back of the car in the last lap or two, and he's dropped to 8th place. Valiant effort, but it's Matt Jackson who has taken victory once again for the 4th time this year then. Matt Jackson has won the 3rd race of the day. He got fastest lap as well. And Paul O'Neill has taken 2nd place. What a great performance that is for Paul O'Neill. His best result of the season here at Snetterton, where he got his first podium in 6 years back in 2009. And this is
was
what happened.
Newsham into the final corner. He'd been oversteering his way all the way through Coram, and he just couldn't stop the car. He was on the wrong line and desperately unlucky on the last lap.
Well, Shedden got that one more place, and how important will that be when the final tally is done at the end of the season as well. A fantastic final race. It had everything in it, all the elements that we love from British touring cars, and it's victory for Matt Jackson. This is another look. This was Matt Neal overtaking Newsham, and he had to do it around the outside into the left-hander here at Brundle. Now, he got good line here. He was on the outside, and he braked late, he braked deep. Takes some bravery here because it's so easy to run out of road, but he got it turned into the right, and that was a lovely, lovely manoeuvre by Matt Neal, and that has earned him 4th position. And finally today has come better for Matt Neal. The first 2 races were disastrous. He failed to score in either one, but he has come back as a championship contender has to. He's come back to finish in 4th, but remember, Jason Plato was 3rd, and this guy, Matt Jackson, won the race. Now, looking at the points, it's going to be very, very close. I think Jackson will probably have just taken over the lead of the championship. We'll check that in a minute, but it's going to be so tight between them now. And Plato has also helped his cause by finishing in 3rd place. And Paul O'Neill with that superb 2nd, his best, as I say, result of the season so far. And for the Go Mobile UK guys, they will also be celebrating today at Snetterton. So, the result then, it's Matt Jackson the winner by 3.3 seconds from Paul O'Neill. Jason Plato in a fighting 3rd. Matt Neal up to 4th from 17th on the grid. Alex McDowell 5th. James Nash had to settle for 6th place. ahead of Gordon Shedden, but Dave Newsham losing out at the end there. Nick Foster finished in 9th, a good 9th place for him, and Rob Austin getting the Audi into the points in 10th. Tom Onslow-Cole 11th, Rob Collard in 12th, then Tom Chilton. Andrew Jordan out of luck today. Tony Gillam dropped back a little bit towards the end. Martin Byford in the VW was 16th. Jeff Smith, Lee Wood, Daniel Welsh and Chris James completed the top 20. So let's see what it means in terms of points. 158 now for Matt Jackson. He has taken the lead in the series with that win in the third race of today. And who would have thought that? He is ahead of the two Honda Racing teammates. They're separated by 2. And Jason Plato is now 20 points off the championship lead. That is definitely achievable with 4 events still to go. So we do have a 4-way tussle for the lead in the championship here, no doubt about it. James Nash scoring well today in his attempts to close up the gap in the independence battle. But remember, Matt Jackson is an independent driver himself, so Matt will have scored some very useful points himself in the independence championship. Alex McDowell 7th, Collard, Chilton and Paul O'Neill up to 10th place there as a result of that second place. In fact, he came into this meeting in 10th, so he's hung on to that spot with 54 points so far.